I used to think planning a wedding would feel magical. You know, sticky notes, Pinterest boards, little emotional breakdowns over napkin colors. But in our family, nothing ever stays just mine for long. The morning I showed Mom my flower arrangement ideas. She barely glanced up from her phone. "Did you run these by Harper?" "She has great taste in florals." I blinked. "It's my wedding." She waved her hand like she was swatting away a mosquito. I know, but your sister just helped plan Bree's shower and it was beautiful. You could use a little guidance." Harper walked in 30 seconds later, uninvited as usual, heels clicking like a warning. She grabbed the printouts from my lap, held them up to the light like some judge at a county fair. "Peonies and eucalyptus," she said, wrinkling her nose. "That's so overdone." "It's what I like," I said. "But you want timeless live, not dated." She flashed her white teeth and sat down like she owned the house. "You know what would be stunning? White orchids with dusty blue silk ribbons. Minimalist, elegant." "That's not my style." Harper tilted her head, all faux innocence. "I'm just trying to help." I looked over at Ethan, hoping for backup. He was scrolling through his phone, nodding at nothing. "Babe," I said. He glanced up. "Whatever makes you happy," which was the problem. He wasn't really present. Lately, he hadn't been. Always somewhere else, even when sitting right beside me. By the time Harper left, she had already offered to connect me with her event planner friend. Mentioned that my dress might wash me out under harsh lighting, and suggested she could take over the seating chart to reduce stress. My mom kissed her goodbye and called her a lifesaver. I looked down at the crumpled page of peonies in my hand, and that's when it hit me. I wasn't planning a wedding. I was curating an experience they'd already taken from me quietly, without saying it out loud. I didn't know I was planning a wedding she already decided to steal. Sunday dinner at my parents' house used to mean comfort food and light bickering. This time the roast was dry, and the tension sharp enough to slice through the mashed potatoes. I sat between Ethan and Dad, watching Harper stir her wine like it offended her. She wore a cream blouse, too dressy for meatloaf. Mom had pulled out the wedding china just because, which only happened when she wanted something to look picture perfect. So Harper said sweetly, "Claire just booked the Wisteria house for her spring wedding. Can you believe it? That place is so hard to get into." I looked up. My heart stopped. What? Harper blinked. "The Wisteria house. You know the venue you wanted?" Claire called in a favor. "Said there was a cancellation for May 14th. "That's my date," I said, voice thin. Harper kept sipping. "I know. Crazy, right?" I turned to Mom. "Did you know about this?" She looked uncomfortable. "Well, Harper mentioned Claire was struggling to find something suitable. You hadn't put down a deposit yet, and it's not like she stole anything. She took my venue and my date. It's just a party," Liv Harper chimed in. "You can make any place look nice. Honestly, this might be for the best. The Wisteria house is kind of grand for your vibe." I stared at her. "My vibe? Come on," she laughed. "You're more rustic chic. Mason jars, string lights, adorable." I felt Ethan tense beside me. He reached for my hand under the table. I let him hold it. Dad cleared his throat but said nothing. Mom refilled Harper's wine. I looked around the table and saw exactly what I hadn't wanted to believe. They'd already decided. About the venue, about the tone, about me. And no one was going to say it not directly. I pushed my chair back and stood. My fork clattered. No one stopped me, not even Ethan. The table was full. But suddenly, I had no seat. I called the Wisteria house the next morning. Half of me already knew what I was going to hear. "Hi, this is Olivia Hart. I wanted to confirm my hold on May 14th. A pause. Clicks on a keyboard. "I'm sorry," the coordinator said, polite but firm. "That date was officially booked last week. Under Harper Hart." I almost laughed. "I didn't authorize that. That's my sister." Another pause. She said it was a family event, and she signed the contract. Paid the deposit in full. Of course she did. I hung up without saying goodbye. By the time I pulled into my parents' driveway, my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. The front porch still had last fall's wreath on the door, faded out of season like everything in this house pretending to still work. Mom opened the door with a tight smile. "Liv, sweetie, no need to get upset. She stole my venue. Mom, she didn't flinch. She reserved it. You hadn't finalized anything. I was working on it. I was waiting for Ethan to get back from that site visit. She acted quickly, that's all." "You know how driven she is." "Driven," I snapped. "You mean entitled. She just wanted something beautiful, Olivia. After everything she's been through. Everything she's been through." "What exactly has she been through?" "Not the constant dismissal, that's for sure." Mom sighed. "You've always been sensitive. Dad didn't even come out of his study." I walked out the back door and sat on the porch steps, blinking back tears. 10 minutes later, Ethan texted. "I heard. I'm sorry. Can we talk tonight? Sorry, that's all." No outrage, no action, just 6 hollow letters. That night he came over and held me for a while. Said it was just a miscommunication, that maybe Harper thought she was helping. I looked at him, and for the first time, I wasn't sure whose side he was on. She hadn't stolen the date by accident. She'd taken it with a smile. It wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. I stopped by Mom's house to drop off a set of teacups Grandma Evelyn had asked for. She was hosting her book club again, and I figured 5 minutes inside wouldn't kill me. I wasn't expecting to hear laughter from upstairs. Curious, I followed the sound to the master bedroom. Mom's old vanity mirror sat at the edge of the room, surrounded by yellow light. And in front of it stood Harper, spinning, wearing a white dress. I froze in the doorway. It wasn't the exact gown I'd picked out, but it was close, so close. Lace at the cuff, sweetheart neckline, a train just a few inches longer. Enough to pretend it was different. Just enough to pretend she didn't copy it. Harper saw me and didn't even flinch. "Oh, hi, what are you doing?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Trying it on." She smiled, smoothing the bodice. "It's Vera. Don't you love how it falls?" I didn't answer. I just stared at her in that mirror, her in white, glowing under my mother's bedroom light. I could almost see the ghost of us behind her 2 little girls playing dress-up, except only one of us ever got to keep the costume. Flashback my 7th birthday. I got a new pink journal with a lock. Harper cried until Mom made me give it to her. Christmas morning, I unwrapped a necklace from Grandma. Harper said she liked it, and suddenly it was ours. And now, here she was again, trying on the role I had waited for, planned for, prayed for. She told me I could use the mirror, Harper said, still looking at herself. "It's good luck. Besides, you hadn't picked yours yet." "I had," I whispered. She shrugged. "It's not a big deal." But it was. It always had been. Every little thing taken, brushed off, erased. I turned around without another word and walked out of the room. I didn't need a fight. Not then. The theft had already happened. Some sisters share. Mine replaces. May 14th arrived dressed in gray clouds and soft rain, the kind of day brides dread. I stayed in my pajamas until noon. It was supposed to be my wedding day. Instead, I was curled up on the living room couch with a blanket I didn't recognize and a mug of cold tea. No music, no calls. Just the quiet hum of a day that no longer belonged to me. Somewhere across town, Harper was walking down an aisle I picked in a dress she copied with guests I had invited. And Ethan, I didn't know what he was thinking. He hadn't responded to my message the night before, just read it. Maybe he was standing up there right now, tying his tie with shaking hands. Maybe he was smiling, pretending. Or maybe he wanted it. Maybe he chose it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat and listened to the soft patter of rain against the window. The world was getting washed clean. I felt numb. A soft knock came at the door. Grandma Evelyn, wearing a yellow raincoat 2 sizes too big, stood holding a worn shoebox. I brought something, she said simply. We sat together on the floor like 2 girls hiding from a storm. She opened the box, revealing a pile of photos. Weddings, reunions, vacations long past. You were always the steady one, she murmured, handing me a picture. Me at 10 holding Harper's hand at the beach. Even when they forgot to say thank you. I stared at the photo. I remembered that day. Harper had thrown a tantrum because I got the bigger towel. I gave it to her. Of course I did. You think this ends today? Grandma asked. No, sweetheart. This is where you begin. We didn't say much else. She let me hold silence the way others might hold a bouquet. In another house, applause was probably rising. But here, there was no audience. Just rain. Just breath. Just me. She took the crowd. I kept the silence. I found the note the next morning slipped under my front door, rain streaked at the corners. Just one line written in Ethan's messy handwriting. Meet me at our bench. Our bench. The one by the marina where he first told me about the house he wanted to design someday. Where we used to get coffee before work and watch the sunrise. Before all this. I told myself not to go. But I did. He was already there when I arrived, hands in his coat pockets, eyes on the water. He looked tired. Older somehow. You came, he said, like he wasn't sure I would. You wrote, we sat. I kept distance between us. I didn't marry her, he said after a moment. I figured. My phone would have blown up. She tried. Your parents pushed. Said it would be a shame to waste the setup. He exhaled hard. I told them no. I didn't speak. Not yet. She told me you backed out Olivia. Said you weren't ready. That you didn't even want the venue anymore. My chest tightened. But the thing is, even when she said all that, it didn't feel right. Nothing about it felt like you. I watched a sailboat glide by, calm and far away. I messed up, he added. I let it all spin out, thinking it would fix itself. It didn't. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small black box. Inside was a ring, not the one we'd picked together months ago. This one was different. Rose gold, a simple band with a marquise diamond. Elegant, but nothing like Harper would ever wear. I designed this, he said quietly, for you. Before all this, I stared at it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for truth. Yours, mine, whatever's left that still belongs to us. The wind blew softly. The air smelled like salt and morning. I didn't take the ring. Not yet, but I didn't leave either. Because somewhere in that silence, I knew she wore a dress. But I was always the bride. Ethan told me later that it happened in the church's dressing room, just him, Harper, and the truth. He'd waited until most of the guests were seated, until the musicians were already tuning their instruments, until the hum of excitement had hit its peak. Then he pulled Harper aside. You don't love me, he'd said. And I don't love you. Not like that. She blinked like she hadn't heard him right. This was never your wedding, Harper. Her smile vanished. Excuse me. You lied. You manipulated everyone. You used Olivia's plans, Olivia's date, even Olivia's dress. She laughed sharp and theatrical. You're panicking. Cold feet, Ethan, it's common, he shook his head. This wasn't a mistake. This was theft. She didn't take it well. From what he described, her voice cracked the stained glass windows. She accused him of leading her on, of humiliating her, of ruining everything she built. You didn't build this, he told her quietly. You copied it. Then came the parents. Grace and Thomas swept into the room, frantic and flushed. Just walk down the aisle, his mother had pleaded. We'll sort it out later. There are 200 people out there, Dad had added. At least pretend. But Ethan stood still. I'm not doing this for a photo. They called it dramatic, unfair, said Olivia would have wanted peace. And that was the moment he knew he was making the right choice. You're not doing this for love, he told them. You're doing it for show. He walked out the back door before the organ could play. When he told me all this, he didn't sound proud, just calm, like someone who had finally stepped off a stage he never auditioned for. I didn't say much, just listened. And I realized that for some people, love was never the goal. It wasn't love they wanted, just a good photo. It wasn't a wedding, but it was something better. A round table under string lights in Grandma Evelyn's garden. A breeze soft enough to move the napkins. Music low, almost an afterthought. And laughter the kind that didn't try too hard. There were only 6 of us. Grandma, of course. My best friend Elise. A couple from the library where I work. And Ethan. He sat across from me, quiet, not trying to impress anyone, just present. I'd set the table myself that afternoon. Picked the sunflowers, lit the candles. No planners, no color scheme, just comfort. Grandma raised her glass halfway through the meal. To knowing your own worth, she said, tapping her lemonade to my wine. To setting your own table, Elise added. To saying no when everyone wants a yes, I said. They all clinked their glasses. It was the first time in weeks I felt like I belonged somewhere. No judgment, no stage smiles. Just me breathing unfiltered. As the sun dipped below the trees, casting gold across the tablecloth, I noticed the small black box beside my plate. He hadn't made a scene. He hadn't gotten down on one knee. He had just placed it there, quietly. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I knew what was inside a ring shaped by honesty, not expectation. Ethan met my eyes across the table. No questions. No pressure. Just the same man who once sketched blueprints on napkins and talked about building things that lasted. Maybe this was our blueprint. Not an altar, not an aisle. Just this trust rebuilt brick by brick. No one toasted to us, but I didn't need applause. I already had everything I lost, and only what I wanted back. No aisle, no veil, just the truth and me choosing it. By Monday, the Hart family had issued their version of events, a carefully worded post on Facebook. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding originally scheduled for May 14th has been postponed. We appreciate your understanding and continued support during this private time. No names, no apology, just enough polish to make it look like a scheduling issue. Meanwhile, Harper had already uploaded 4 pictures from what she called her soul renewal trip to Bermuda. Matching swimsuits, champagne toasts, filtered skies, as if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't stood in a white dress waiting for a man who walked away. People commented hearts and fire emojis. You look radiant, enjoy every minute, she replied with hearts and thank yous. She was rewriting the story in real time. I didn't comment. I didn't even look twice, because something else had arrived. A message, private short, typed by someone who probably struggled to hit send. From my father. I was wrong. Just that. No defense, no strings. No, but your sister. Just wrong. I stared at it for a long time, not because I was moved, but because I never thought he'd say it. This was a man who taught me to stay quiet, to keep the peace, who had always let Mom lead when it came to family dynamics, who turned his face away when Harper crossed the line. Maybe he still didn't understand everything, but silence admitting failure. That was something. I didn't reply. Sometimes dignity isn't in the response, but in the space you leave untouched. That night I lit a candle on my windowsill. Not for them, for me. Not for closure, for clarity. I thought about all the times I gave up my place to keep the room calm. This time I had walked out, and the quiet left behind said everything. Regret is louder in silence. We met at the bench again, our bench. The sky hung low silver with the kind of clouds that don't promise thunder, just honesty. The marina behind us shimmered in soft ripples, and for a moment it felt like time didn't know where to go. I was early, he was earlier. Ethan stood as I approached but didn't reach for me right away. We just smiled, small, quiet, real. Then we sat side by side like we used to. No speeches, no violinists hiding in the bushes, no one watching or expecting or dressing us in roles. Just us. I keep thinking about that first date, he said. You wore that blue jacket with the little tear in the sleeve. I laughed. You offered to sew it. You thought I was joking. You were not qualified, but I wanted to fix something. He reached into his coat pocket. Slowly, no dramatics. Just that same small black box, the one that had waited patiently on my dinner plate a week ago. He opened it not toward me but resting on his palm as if asking, not offering. I didn't do this right the first time, he said. I let too many voices get in my head. I thought if I stayed quiet, things would settle. But love shouldn't have to fight for volume. I looked at him. Older, wiser, not perfect but changed. This ring, he continued, wasn't picked for a season. I designed it for you. For the kind of love that isn't loud but never leaves. A beat of silence passed between us, thick and full. Olivia Hart. Will you marry me? I didn't rush. I breathed. And in that breath I felt it, not pressure, not performance, just presence. My hand reached for his, and I said the word I hadn't been allowed to say on my own terms. Yes. We stayed there a while longer. No applause, no doves, just peace. When the rain came, we walked home slow. No umbrella, letting it fall across our shoulders, soaking through the past. It wasn't about reclaiming a stage. It was about rewriting the story quietly, truthfully. She stole the day. I reclaimed the lifetime.